Okay, we're going to kick it off with a review of the new Justice League series. So, during the New 52, the Justice League got all scrambled, like you would not believe. So you had the Justice League, you had the Justice League International, which was for some reason being led by Booster Gold. You had Justice League Canada. That didn't last long. I think that lasted like 8 issues or something like that because it was pathetic. You had Justice League of America, which at first was led by Steve Trevor, but then Batman took it over, and then of course you had Justice League Dark. So the DC Rebirth happens. A lot of that stuff gets canceled. They did have a Justice League of America and Justice League series right after the New 52 ended, but it just never really caught steam. So now they're bringing out the big guns with Justice League #1, New Justice. This comes after the miniseries Justice League No Justice, which I'll have more about that on a different video or on an article on my blog. Anyway, so they brought up the big guns. Scott Snyder is writing this series. That's pretty impressive. And it's got some pretty amazing, here I'll bend down so you can see, you got some pretty amazing artwork. You see the Hall of Justice, which I think is pretty cool that they're bringing back the Hall of Justice. I like the satellite headquarters, but I think the Hall of Justice is pretty cool. So basically in this series, there are, shall we say, holes in the multiverse after the events of DC Metals, which you can watch my marathon on where I review all of those. Now, Lex Luthor and Vandal Savage are kind of vying for supremacy among the supervillains. And in the end, spoiler, this isn't the end of the comic book, this is a slight spoiler, Luthor forms the Legion of Doom. So you see we've got Sinestro, Gorilla God, the Joker, Black Manta, and Cheetah, and of course, like I said, Lex Luthor is leading them. So a good group. One thing that I find a little interesting about this series, so when New 52 launched, they did kind of the basic Justice League, except they swapped out Cyborg for Martian Manhunter. Well, here's the new Justice League now. So now other characters are in and out, but this is kind of the core group. So we've got Batman, greatest superhero ever created, The Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, John Jones, John Stewart, Hawk Woman, and Aquaman and Cyborg. Notice anything? Now, take out Cyborg and Aquaman. What do you notice about these characters? Oh, yeah, they were the founders of the Justice League in the animated series produced by Bruce Timm. A little suspicious. Why would they go back to, instead of going back to basics where you have characters like Black Canary, who was an awesome character, by the way, but instead they go back to the old school Justice League animated series, which is pretty awesome. Justice League Unlimited was a spin-off of Batman and Superman animated series, respectively. Really great series. You should check it out. I think it's on Netflix. So they launched this new series, and like I said, there's holes in the multiverse. Lex Luthor wants to take advantage of them. Of course, the Justice League, they're trying to close those holes. And John Stewart isn't featured very prominently in this issue. However, that all changes in issues #2, which I will review later on. All right, continuing on. I promised you Justice League issue 2, and here it is on the same episode. I wasn't going to make you wait, especially since issue 3 is about to come out. Now, into the totality, what the Justice League is code-naming this rift in the multiverse where energy and stuff is leaking out. There is some sort of special thing coming from the source wall. For those of you who don't know what the source wall is, it's the barrier in the multiverse. where all this knowledge exists and stuff. Superman trapped Darkseid inside it, I believe, during Final Crisis. All kinds of crazy stuff. So we're going on, and I mentioned this in the previous one. This one, it's even more prominent. But look, it's all the Justice Leaguers from the Justice League Unlimited television show. Now, it would be remiss of me to point out that the show was just called Justice League in its first 2 seasons, but I'm calling it Justice League Unlimited just to avoid confusion with the comic book. Anyway, JLU was very popular among fans. Many of us were disappointed that it was canceled after only 4 seasons, and I really think this is DC Comics' way of saying, "Hey, we're honoring you." And Scott Snyder is a fantastic writer. Um, One thing that's interesting is Luthor has somehow discovered a way to find other rifts in the multiverse, and as you can see, John Stewart, he wasn't really featured that prominently in issue 1, but in issue 2, he's more prominent. Sinestro, one thing I'm not too fond of is instead of having the Fear Ring, Sinestro now has another ring, the Ultraviolet Spectrum. I'm like, golly, how many of these rings are there? I mean, you've got red for rage, you've got blue for hope, you've got green for will, you've got uh, indigo or whatever it is, and you've got violet, and you've got orange, and like what? How many white, black? How many spectrums are you going to put? It's just kind of it is kind of getting. And now we're having an ultraviolet ring. It is kind of getting a little crazy in that regard. But outside of that, I did enjoy this. I like the new Legion of Doom. They do an interesting job. I like the new Hawkwoman outfit, and it's actually, I should point out, it's not this Hawkwoman is not Shiera Thal from JLU. It's Kendra Sanders, who she was Hawkman and Hawkwoman slash Hawkgirl have had like kind of a convoluted histories and backstories, and it's just kind of and so they're instead of doing the whole Thanagarian thing, they're using Kendra, who was a human in previous incarnations of the Justice League. She was a human who was able to get the powers of the Hawk people. So similar to Carter Hall, which I think now they're bringing back Carter Hall. And I actually liked Carter Hall's New 52 version. That was actually one thing in the New 52 I like. But DC Metals brought him back into the DC Rebirth universe, and so I did like that as well. And I think Justice League here is continuing on with this whole multiverse. It seems like this is going to be a theme now because we kind of see it in Doomsday Clock. We see it in Titans. We see it in Teen Titans. This idea of how the multiverse is coming together is pretty fascinating, pretty interesting. So I can't wait to see what the writers and artists over at DC Comics have for us.